The plains are quietly becoming primed for severe weather, and I want you to pay close attention because my confidence in this weekend's setup increased substantially overnight. The latest high-resolution model runs from this morning are indicating stronger wind shear and significantly higher levels of atmospheric instability than what we were seeing just 24 hours ago. What initially appeared to be a relatively modest and localized severe weather event a few days ago has evolved into a situation that is becoming much more concerning. The trend in the data is serious enough that the Storm Prediction Center has already begun adjusting its outlook accordingly. If you live anywhere from western Nebraska and the Dakotas southward through central Kansas and into Oklahoma, this is not a forecast to ignore. Conditions are changing rapidly, and the details of this setup could have a major impact on your weekend plans. Let's focus first on the area of greatest concern, where the most significant threat appears to be developing. Western Nebraska and South Dakota, including Rapid City, Sturgis, Rapid Valley, North Platte, and locations generally west of Highway 83 and north of Interstate 80, are positioned directly within the primary risk zone for Saturday. This particular corridor is attracting attention for a reason. An energetic disturbance is currently moving out of the northern Rockies and is set to draw a large reservoir of atmospheric moisture and instability into the plains. As the upper-level low tracks across the northern Rockies, it will help establish a blocking pattern while simultaneously ushering colder air aloft into the region, creating an increasingly favorable environment for severe storm development. This is where the situation becomes more concerning. When a layer of cold air moves in above very warm surface temperatures during the afternoon, it creates a highly unstable atmosphere. By Saturday afternoon, conditions across western Nebraska and South Dakota will be extremely favorable for explosive thunderstorm development. Dew points are expected to climb into the lower 60s across western South Dakota, providing a rich supply of moisture that acts as fuel for storm growth. Combined with the unusually cold air aloft, that moisture will create an environment capable of rapidly intensifying storms. Thunderstorms could begin developing as early as 4 o'clock or 5 p.m., and once they form, they will continue feeding on the warm, moisture-rich air, allowing them to strengthen and persist. The peak period for severe weather on Saturday is expected to be from 4 p.m. through 9 p.m., when daytime heating drives instability to its highest levels. Residents should consider moving vehicles into garages or under covered parking before the evening hours, as hail as large as golf balls could cause significant damage in some communities. There is also a risk of tornadoes during the early stages of storm development, particularly if storms remain isolated and take on supercell characteristics. However, at this point, large hail and damaging winds appear to be the most significant threats. If you have outdoor activities planned for Saturday afternoon anywhere in this region, it would be wise to have an alternative plan ready and ensure you have a reliable method of receiving weather alerts. This is exactly the type of event where timely warnings can make a difference. When a warning is issued for your location, the system can immediately notify you, even if you are traveling or far from populated areas, helping you stay informed and react quickly. The most significant concern on Saturday is not just the initial development of storms, it's what those storms may become after sunset. One scenario I'm monitoring closely is the formation of a mesoscale convective system, MCS, a large organized cluster of thunderstorms that could develop as the early supercells merge together and begin moving east during the overnight hours. If that evolution takes place, the primary threat would shift away from large hail and toward widespread damaging straight-line winds affecting a much larger region. Wind gusts in the 60 to 70 miles per hour range would be capable of downing power lines, tearing shingles from roofs, and bringing large trees down across roads and neighborhoods. This storm complex could continue tracking east well beyond the initial area of greatest concern, potentially impacting locations such as Sioux Falls and Omaha later in the night with a significant wind event. At this stage, I am not ready to say with high confidence that this will happen because the smaller scale atmospheric details that control MCS development will not become clear until much closer to the event. That said, the potential is certainly there, and it's something worth paying attention to. If you are in Sioux Falls or Omaha and assuming the worst weather will remain farther west on Saturday, it would be wise to keep a close eye on forecast updates through the evening. An overnight complex of damaging thunderstorms moving into your area remains a realistic possibility. Shifting farther south, residents in Wichita, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Norman, and Abilene are not located within the primary target area for Saturday's severe weather. However, that does not mean they are free from risk. Severe storms remain possible across these locations as well, and conditions will still need to be monitored closely. A broader marginal severe weather risk extends from central Kansas southward through Oklahoma and into northwest Texas on Saturday. While the threat level is somewhat lower than farther north, the setup in this region presents its own set of hazards. A dry line and surface trough will interact with an atmosphere that is highly favorable for thunderstorm development. Moisture levels across Kansas are exceptionally high for late May, approaching what could be described as tropical-like conditions. As a result, any storm that develops will have access to abundant moisture and could produce very heavy rainfall. By late Saturday afternoon, isolated thunderstorms may begin forming along the dry line. Because storm coverage is expected to remain scattered, not everyone will experience rainfall. However, the locations that do get hit could see intense downpours, large hail, and damaging wind gusts. It only takes one isolated supercell to significantly disrupt plans and create dangerous conditions. If you'll be traveling along Interstate 35 this weekend, it would be a good idea to keep a reliable weather app open with warning polygons enabled. Doing so can help you track exactly where severe weather warnings are being issued in relation to your location and determine whether it's safer to pull over, wait out a storm, or choose an alternate route. The key message is to stay aware of changing weather conditions and be prepared to adjust plans if storms develop nearby. Before we focus on Saturday's severe weather potential, we first need to talk about Friday, which is essentially setting the stage for what follows. A marginal risk for severe thunderstorms exists across parts of the southern plains, the central high plains, and extending into western Montana. This includes areas such as eastern New Mexico, the Texas Panhandle, and Oklahoma. Friday is not expected to bring a widespread severe weather outbreak. However, the combination of the jet stream and daytime heating will likely trigger scattered thunderstorms during the afternoon and evening hours. For most locations, the primary concerns will be small to marginally severe hail and gusty outflow winds. That said, a few areas could experience exceptionally strong instability. In those locations, isolated microbursts may develop, sudden, powerful downdrafts capable of producing intense wind and heavy rain with little to no advance warning. While Friday is not the main event, it is still a day worth monitoring. Think of it as a preview of the more significant weather setup expected on Saturday. Before moving on, I want to briefly shift attention farther west because there is another developing weather concern in Montana and Wyoming that often gets overlooked in forecasts like this. It's something people in that region should be aware of as we head into the weekend. The same blocking pattern contributing to the severe weather threat across the plains is also creating a marginal risk for excessive rainfall in the northern Rockies. Near the Continental Divide, there is a very high likelihood, around a 90% chance, of receiving at least 1 inch of rainfall. One of the biggest concerns in this region is the potential for flash flooding over recent burn scars. When heavy rain falls on fire-damaged terrain, the ground cannot absorb water efficiently, increasing the risk of rapid mudslides and debris flows that can develop with little warning. There is also another noteworthy development that wasn't widely expected earlier this week. Snow levels are now forecast to drop much lower than originally anticipated, potentially falling to around 6,000 feet. While late-season snowfall at those elevations is not unprecedented for late May, it is certainly unusual. Some mountain communities and higher elevation areas could see accumulating snow this weekend, so travelers heading through the northern Rockies should be prepared for changing conditions. Meanwhile, conditions are dramatically different farther south near the Four Corners region. A strong upper-level jet stream will contribute to wind gusts approaching 35 miles per hour while relative humidity values drop below 15%. Those factors create a highly favorable environment for wildfire development. Under such dry and windy conditions, even a small ignition source, a dragging trailer chain, a discarded cigarette, or another spark, could quickly start a fast-moving fire. It's a striking contrast: excessive moisture and flooding concerns in one part of the country, while extreme dryness and fire danger threaten another. Both situations carry significant risks. Farther east, across Florida and the eastern Gulf Coast, a stalled frontal boundary remains in place over a very moisture-rich atmosphere. This setup is expected to produce repeated rounds of thunderstorms from Miami northward through West Palm Beach. Florida has been in need of substantial rainfall due to ongoing drought conditions, and this system is certainly delivering moisture. However, rainfall totals of 3 to 6 inches over a relatively short period, especially in heavily urbanized areas, can quickly overwhelm drainage systems. Roads may flood rapidly, creating dangerous driving conditions before motorists even realize how much water has accumulated. Flooded roadways, standing water in urban areas, and vehicles becoming stranded during the afternoon commute are all possible concerns. Given recent model trends, the Weather Prediction Center may choose to upgrade portions of the current marginal excessive rainfall outlook to a slight risk across parts of South Florida. If you live in that area, it's worth monitoring forecast updates closely. Now, I promise to end on a positive note, so let's talk about some truly fantastic weather. Friday is shaping up to be a weather jackpot for parts of the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, just as mentioned in my previous forecast. A large Canadian high-pressure system is expected to settle over the region, bringing ideal conditions to places like Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Grand Rapids. Residents can expect sunny skies, virtually no chance of rain, comfortable dew points in the 50s, and afternoon temperatures that should feel nearly perfect for outdoor activities. Whether you are attending the Breakaway Music Festival in Columbus, spending time outdoors, or heading to a baseball game at PNC Park, the weather could hardly be better. The contrast between these conditions and the humid, stormy weather affecting Florida is remarkable. The air will feel comfortable and refreshing from the moment you step outside. It will be an excellent day for hiking, working in the yard, enjoying outdoor dining, or simply spending time outside. Just remember basic warm weather precautions, use sunscreen, stay hydrated, and take advantage of the pleasant conditions while they last. Unfortunately, this stretch of calm weather is not expected to continue for long. An active weather pattern is forecast to persist into early next week, bringing repeated chances for thunderstorms across the plains and continued wet, unsettled conditions throughout much of the southeast. Looking ahead, one area of particular interest is a corridor that may develop from Nebraska and Kansas into Missouri, where atmospheric instability could become exceptionally strong early next week. It's a setup that deserves close attention because some of the most significant late May tornado events on record have developed from patterns that did not appear especially alarming a week in advance. In other words, while confidence in the exact details remains limited at this range, the ingredients are beginning to align in a way that warrants careful monitoring as we move into next week. Many of the most impactful late-season tornado outbreaks haven't been obvious a week ahead of time. Instead, they've developed when extreme instability combined with smaller-scale atmospheric features that only became apparent on the day of the event. That's exactly why we need to continue monitoring the forecast closely over the coming days. The broader setup is already in place, but the finer details that ultimately determine how significant the threat becomes will emerge much closer to the event itself. Stay informed and keep following forecast updates as conditions evolve. If you found this forecast helpful, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next forecast. Take care.